To start the weaving portion of this, we're going to need a couple pieces of fabric. Hopefully they're different colors. Brighter colors look nicer also. And it's really important that you ask an adult in your house whether or not you can cut them. You don't want to cut anything that you might use later on. And we're just going to need pieces of fabric that are a bit longer than what our loom is wide. So I'm going to cut pieces that are a little bit longer than this, so maybe approximately this long. And I'm going to cut a whole bunch of strips of it so that I have them ready to use. Once we have lots of different strips cut to size, we can start weaving like we normally do. So for that, we're going to take one of these pieces and we're just going to use our fingers to make sure that it's going over and under all the way across. So for me right here, I'm starting under the first one. I'm going to go over the second one, under the third one, and I'm just going to keep on picking up every other one and sticking it under every other one of these warp strings here. And then once I get to the other side, I just pull it so that it's even on both sides, and then I push it down towards the bottom. Now when I do my second piece, then I'm going to do the opposite of what I did this time. So the last time here, I went under the very first warp string. This time I'm going to go over the first warp string, and then I'm going to pick up the second one, and then I'm going to continue that pattern all the way across. So I'll skip one, pick up the next one, skip one, pick up the next one, and they should always be opposite of what the last one did. You want to be very, very careful not to go over two at a time. You always only want to go over one at a time. And then once I get to the other side, I'm going to do a quick check to make sure I did the right thing. So right here, it's the second to last one, and I see that I went under it. If I go down and see that the last time I went over, chances are I probably did this row correctly. So once I get to the other side, again, I make sure that both sides are even, and I pull it all the way down towards the bottom. And then I can continue that all the way up. And one last time, I'm just going to show you. Again, I'm going to start with the opposite of what I did the last time. I went over this first warp string. So I'm going to use my piece of fabric to go under the first one this time, just like I did the first row across. And then again, once I get here, make sure both sides are even, and I pull it all the way down as close to the bottom as I can. And you can continue using one color at a time. You can switch up your colors. You can do any type of pattern you want. It'll look very interesting to have different results. When I get to the end of this, I like to trim up the sides a little bit so that they're a little bit more even. So I'm just going to cut them so they're all about the same length here. Something else you may have noticed me doing, which I also briefly mentioned in the beginning, was that after each row I really press down these little weft pieces. That's super important. If you keep it loose, then the pieces are going to fall out later. So it's really important that you do push it down every single time so that it's as tight as possibly can be. Now you can keep it like this and have it as a decoration, or you can take it off of your little loom here. So I'm going to show you how to do that step here. So for that, I'm going to turn to the back. I'm just going to cut across the middle so that I have all these longer pieces here. Then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm only taking out 2 of these pieces at a time. That's really important because you don't want this to fall apart. So I'm taking out the first 2 first, and I'm going to tie a double knot here and make sure it's nice and tight. If it's loose, then again, these pieces will start to fall apart. And then I'll take out the next 2, which this was kind of tough to see. That one got really skinny. And I'm going to tie again a double knot here, and I'm going to do the same thing all the way across. My last one will have 2 strings left over, so once I get to that, I'm actually just going to put 2 of those pieces together and then tie the 2 pieces with the other 1 piece. And when you're finished, it should stay together pretty well after you've tied all those knots. Now, if you're a student at Bellevue Elementary and you've decided to do this project, keep it and show it to me. I would love to see how it turned out and the different variations we got.